Good afternoon, my dear students.
Good afternoon, sir.
How's your day?
Doing well, sir.
Have you already eaten your lunch?
Yes, sir. We already ate our lunch.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, my dear students. So please stand up and let us pray. Then to us only the prayer.
We let us bow our heads and feel the presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
You may now take your seat. Okay, class, let's have an attendance. Say present if your name is called. Cardo Dalisay.
Sir, present.
Dayan Tuason.
Sir, present.
Very good, everyone is present. Okay, does anyone from the class remember the lesson that Ma'am Marian discussed yesterday?
Yes, sir.
What is the lesson all about?
Beneficial and harmful infections among living things.
Very good. Okay, class, do you want to play some games?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, this game is what we call 4 pics and 1 word. In this game, you will be shown 4 photos in a grid. Your goal is to find or figure out the common word based on word length and the clues. Okay, the first picture is, it is an overflowing water on the road, boat settled at the beach, and a water-desiccated river. What is it?
Tide, sir.
Okay, it's tide. Tide is the correct answer. The second picture is, it shows a flowing body of water, a water that flows through a channel in the surface of the ground, and a natural flowing watercourse. What is the answer?
River, sir.
Okay, it's a river. Then, the last picture is, it shows a woman raising her hand, a man surfing at a beach, and a bird flying at the beach, and the last one is a child saying goodbye. What is the correct answer, class?
Wave, sir.
Okay, wave is the correct answer. So, here's the last picture. It shows a cow, a sheep, an elephant, and a horse. What is it, class?
Animal, sir.
Animal? Okay, it's an animal. Now, let's have a short discussion about the activity earlier. So, I have a question to you, class. How are you able to guess the answer?
Because of the clues and lighted words on every picture.
Great. What are the benefits of a river?
The benefits of a river are that it provides us fresh water for production and people's livelihood, and it plays a vital role in Earth's living things and non-living things.
Okay. What is the difference between a river and the ocean, class?
The main difference between sea and river is that the sea is a saltwater body, whereas river are freshwater bodies.
Okay. So, let's proceed to our topic, which is interactions in estuaries and intertidal zones, or intertidal zones. So, okay, class. Look at that picture. What can you observe?
It is about the material of an organism of nature.
Very good. Aside from nature, it is called an ecosystem. So, what is ecosystem? An ecosystem is a place such as rotting log, a forest, or even a schoolyard, where interaction between living and non-living things occur. All living organisms and non-living parts within a place are interacting all the time, and adjustments occur if the organisms are to survive. Okay? What is estuary? Estuary is a body of water near the coast where fresh water from rivers and streams follows into ocean and mixes with salt water. So, it means water from the rivers and stream flows into ocean and mixes with salt water. So, fresh water comes from the river, mix siya sa salt water. So, nagkadugtong o nag-meet. An estuary may be called a bay, lagoon, or a harbor. The fresh water mixes with salt water. So, yung fresh water, galing yun sa river. Then, sa salt water, galing sa ocean. So, nag-mix sila ba? Yun ang tawag na yung estuary. So, estuaries where land and fresh water meet the sea. So, here's an example of an estuary. As you can see, here's the river, and water flows into the ocean, or it mixes. Fresh water mixes to the salt water.
Go.
Okay, class, this time let's have a short activity, which is reading a poem by Rachel E. Oronia. Okay, class, please read the poem.
Sunlight, soil, grade, temperature, nutrients, and salinity are biotic factors affecting organisms' survival in its marine ecology. Sunlight helps them grow, it aids plants photosynthesis, it secures animals' growth and plants' food-making process, and minerals from keep plants healthy. Organisms keep up with temperature changes through oceans are made. There is also a great need for organisms to survive and feed.
Okay, This time, let's talk about what are biotic and abiotic factors that were mentioned in the poem. So, I will show to you, class, a picture that shows an example of abiotic and biotic factors. So this time, let's differentiate between biotic and abiotic factors. So, we have plants in biotic, animals, bacteria, fungus, and protists. In abiotic, non-living things are water, soil, air, light, and minerals. Biotic are the living components in an ecosystem. These include the plants, animals, and microorganisms found in estuaries, such as mangrove trees, migratory birds, and small fishes. So, ang biotic class, it composes plants, animals, and microorganisms. Basta yung biotic ay mga living components or living things. Then, abiotic are non-living components in the ecosystem. These are the factors that affect the organisms in estuaries. This includes waves, or salinity, temperature, amount of sunlight, and type of soil. So, biotic in terms of plants. So, we have mangroves, salt grass, and sea lettuce. Biotic in terms of animals. We have the great blue heron, snail, and a fish. So, this time, we all know what is a snail and what is a fish, right, class?
Yes, sir. Snails can be found in soil or dirt or the river or lake. While fish can be found in large body of water side.
Very good. And the last one, we have biotic factors in terms of microorganisms. In terms of microorganisms, we have bacteria, phytoplanktons, and zooplanktons. Abiotic factors. So, sa abiotic factors, we have waves, refer to the movement of the surface of the water. These are strong forces that organisms must learn to live with. Kelp, a kind of algae, has a strong root-like structures that attach itself to rocks to keep it from being carried away by waves. Salinity refers to the amount of salt water, the combination of seawater and fresh water in estuaries. It is called the brackish water. Mangroves and blue crabs have adjusted well to the constantly changing salinity of water due to the non-stop flow of fresh water and salt water through the estuary. Temperature refers to the level of hotness and coldness of the water. Temperature differs because of the tides and the amount of sunlight. Some organisms use plants like mangroves to keep themselves concealed from direct sunlight or avoid the coldness of the water. Amount of sunlight. Since estuaries are shallow as compared to the seas, they are conductive for photosynthesis. So, yung photosynthesis ay, yung mga plants nagkukuha sila ng energy galing sa sun, so mag-produce sila ng food. That process is what we call photosynthesis. Algae, seaweeds, seagrasses, and other marine plants depend on the amount of sunlight that they receive in the estuaries. Type of soil. The type of soil varies in the estuaries, depending on the strength of waves and the kind of rocks present in the area. Some areas are full of rocks. May mga area na maraming mga bato, sand, pebbles, or clay. The top soil layer found in an estuary is composed mostly of peat or salt crust. Salt can be found within the soil, which can be acidic, posing problems to the survival of plant life. So, interaction among living things and non-living things in estuaries. Organisms require energy to perform life activities. In this case, they need to eat food. So, where does the energy come from?
From the
Very good, class. The interaction among living things and living things here in estuaries are what we call the estuary of food web. So a food web is an interlock pattern of food chains consists of producers. Yung producers yung gumagawa ng pagkain, such as plants, and consumers, yung kumakain. The sun provides energy to primary producers such as plankton. The planktons are eaten by consumers. In estuary, the planktons are producers. So, other animals in the estuary depend on it as their food source. So, yung plankton ay gumagawa ng food para sa mga consumer, yung mga kumakain. The feeding relationship between the organisms inhabiting in the estuary is called the estuary of food web. So, ito na process ito ay tinatawag na estuary of food web. Type of consumers in estuary of food web. So, herbivores, an animal that feeds on plants. So, mga herbivores, yun yung mga animals na kumakain ng plants, ng mga tanim. So, we have an elephant, goat, zebra, grasshopper, deer, a cow, and a rabbit, and a caterpillar. So, carnivores naman, an animal that feeds on flesh. So, ang animal na kumakain ng karne. We have lion, tiger, crocodile, wolf, shark, frog, and so on. Then, omnivores, an animal that both feeds plants and flesh. So, ang omnivore animals ay kumakain ng plants at flesh or yung karne. Cat, we have cat, crow, pig, ant, squirrel, peacock. So, sa detritivores, an animal that feeds on dead organic material. So, ang detritivores naman ay mga animal na kumakain ng mga patay na organic materials such as beanbag, burrowing bag, fungi, earthworm. So, intertidal zone. What is intertidal zone? So, an area in which are constantly exposed to the changing of tides. They provide homes to many kinds of plants and animals. The daily changes in the tides play a major role to the life of living things in this area. The intertidal zone, which is also known as the foreshore or seashore, is the area that is above water level or low tide and underwater high tide. So, sa Bisaya pa sa low tide and high tide, taob o punas. Okay class, let's see what is the difference between the low tides and the high tides. I have here a picture that shows the low tide and high tide. So, dito, mapapansin natin na yung water level ay bumababa o low. So, this is what we call the low tide. Then, sa right side naman, ito yung tinatawag na high tide. O, as you can see, the water level becomes high. Or nasurround yung place or ground ng water. Body of water. The intertidal zone is a home to many species of animals and plants. Most of the animals are invertebrates, animals without backbones. So, animals without backbones are what we call invertebrates. Some of the invertebrates in the tide pools include crabs, sea urchin, starfish, snail, and so on. So, there are types of intertidal zone. First one is the splash spray zone, the upper intertidal zone, and the lower intertidal zone. Habitats found in intertidal zone. So we have coral reefs provide shelter to the thousands of fishes. The corals themselves are animals that feed on planktons. These corals from reefs that protect the coast from strong waves and currents. So alam naman natin yung coral, di ba? Yung coral ay nag-protect siya sa mga coast from strong waves, yung mga malalaking alon and currents. Salt marshes are areas that are filled with seawater during high tides and drained during low tides. Organisms found in salt marshes are clams, mussels, oysters, crabs, snails, and shrimps. Plants found in salt marshes are sea grasses and other plants that are tolerant of salt water. Mudflats or tidal flats are areas where mud from the seas or river is deposited. They are usually the areas for migratory birds, crabs, sand dollars, mussels, clams, mollusks, shellfish, and some fish. Algae like sea lettuce provide food for the herbivores in this area. Rocky shores, yung rocky shores ay, for example, sa atin yung Pampang, yung maraming mga bato, are areas where solid rocks are found. Animals that found on the rocky shores are plankton, brittle stars, sea stars, hermit, crabs, barnacles, limpets, mollusks, and shrimp. Mangrove forest, so alam naman natin di ba kung ano yung mangrove forest. So, are area that are filled with mangrove trees. These trees have adapted to salt water, are breeding grounds for different kinds of fish and shellfish. So, di ba, mga mangrove forests ay tinatanim para sa mga animals or species to live. So, dyan sila tumitira. Remember, the sun is the source of energy for all living things, as is this case in all feeding relationships that place in different ecosystems. Green plants and bacteria are primary producers that can be changed the sunlight energy into food energy. So yung mga producers, yun yung mga green plants and bacteria. So sila yung gumagawa ng pagkain para sa mga consumer. So yung mga kumakain ng food. So para makagawa sila ng pagkain, yung mga green plants and bacteria, they need the energy from the sun to make food. Producers make their own food through photosynthesis. So, through the process of photosynthesis, by the sunlight or energy comes from the sun, using energy from sunlight, some of the producers in estuaries are phytoplankton, algae, and seagrass, and mangrove. So, photosynthesis ang tawag sa yung Mga plants are nag-need sila ng sunlight or energy that comes from the sun to make food. That is what we call a photosynthesis. Planktons are floating microscopic organisms and can have both animal and plant-like components. Phytoplankton are floating microscopic plants. They are considered very important producers in an estuary habitat. They are eaten by zooplanktons and by other predators. So, napaka-importante yung mga producer kasi kung walang producer, hindi makasurvive yung mga animals or mga fish. Okay. Sila yung gumagawa ng mga pagkain, yung mga producer. So, need sila sa food web. Zooplanktons are microscopic floating animals that may feed on phytoplankton.